What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Couple on Fire podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk all about It's Never Too Late to Start, and that's coming up
right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Couple on Fire podcast. This podcast is for couples, for marriages, and for families within the Christian community. We exist to help break the stigma that happens within the Christian community. We're talking about divorce, we're talking about addiction, and we're talking about so much more. We believe that all this is possible in this life strictly based on the power of Jesus Christ and his ability to restore us fully. Let's dive in. What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome to today's episode. Hey, if you've never joined us before, my name is Josh. This is my beautiful wife, Christy. Hi, love.
Hi.
And we are a Christian couple, and we are on fire for Jesus and on fire for our marriage. We want to talk about all things that help you take your faith, family, and future to the next level. If you stick around long enough and you find this content good, please do us a favor, hit share, like, subscribe, do the works. We would appreciate it. Okay, so before we dive in to today's episode, what's on your mind?
I have a lot.
Oh, here we go. She's been preparing for it, folks.
No, I wasn't.
You
it's
weren't?
just
Okay.
as soon as you went to say it, I'm like, oh man, there's a lot to talk about. So Josh and I are starting a couples class at our church, a couples Bible study this coming Sunday. So we're super excited about that because our church hasn't had anything regularly focused on marriages. So we're super excited about that. And then Jay and Laura LaFoon, we're going to be at their Celebrate Your Marriage conference on Mackinac Island in May, next month.
End of May. Yep.
So that's next month. That's coming up. And then this past weekend was Easter. So I hope everyone had a great Easter. Josh and I, it was one of the best weekends of my life, I will say, because Friday was Good Friday, and in its totality. So Friday was Good Friday, of course, where we remember Jesus' sacrifice. And then Saturday was my 13-year anniversary of being sober. And then Sunday was Easter, the day that Jesus rose from the grave. But Josh's sister also got married.
No, she didn't get married.
Oh my gosh, got baptized. I don't know why I keep
She's already
saying
been married.
that. Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying that. Baptized. She got baptized, married to Jesus.
She got married to Jesus.
So, and Josh's pretty much our whole family came. You know, my uncles were there and
That was awesome.
everything to see his sister get baptized.
Outstanding.
And then everyone came over to our house afterwards to celebrate Easter because we hosted Easter. So it was a really great weekend.
It was. It was an emotional weekend. There was a lot of great things that happened this weekend. It was very emotional. It was wonderful. So back to, number one, Christy's anniversary for sobriety, 13 years. And the funny thing is 13 is her lucky number.
Favorite number.
Lucky and favorite and lucky. You always say that Friday the 13th is is a lucky day for you. So it's lucky and her favorite, right? So
I love it.
That's awesome. But Celebrate Your Marriage coming up next month. If you haven't had a chance yet, they're running out of rooms. If you haven't had a chance to even go to Mackinac Island and stay at the Grand Hotel, you literally, if you just go to the conference, sign up for the conference, you get a huge room discount. So even if you just go just to stay in the hotel room, it's worth going because you save about half the amount of money. So make sure you go to jayandlaura.com, sign up. We will be there. It's an awesome time. You will not regret going. It's amazing. And I think they only have a few rooms left. So you're going to want to do that. Also, next January, we have an opportunity that Christy and I have been invited to go on Celebrate Your Marriage at Sea, which is Jay and Laura's LaFoon's cruise that they do once a year. It's in January,
of Puerto Rico.
And it is out of Puerto Rico, and we get to be guest speakers. So we want to let you know, you want to make sure you sign up for that as well. That also is coming up. And in January of next year.
January 12th through the 19th.
Yeah.
And you can use code Josh and Christy.
Grochi.
Oh, it's the whole thing?
I think so.
It's not just Josh and Christy 25?
I don't know. It might be Josh and Christy 25. I don't know. Well, I'll need to look, and I'll put it down in the comments because I think we put it in the comments last week too, but we'll make sure to do that. But yeah, so it's an awesome time. You guys will be able to come and join us and have a cruise and do all that wonderful
I was
fun
just seeing if I could look it up really quick.
stuff. I don't know if you're going to, I don't even know where.
Josh and Christy 25.
Yep. So Josh and Christy 25. Thank you, love. She remembered it, which is awesome. Okay, so.
Which is rare.
Which is a little rare. So diving into today, right? So today's episode, we want to talk about It's Never Too Late to Start. This is something that Christy was kind of talking about recently and was like, hey, maybe we should do a podcast on It's Never Too Late to Start. And so It is powerful, right? Because we know the majority of the people that listen or follow our show is between the ages of 35 and 55. And once we get into our 30s, we kind of get stuck into this mind frame of it's too late, right? It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. And it's real easy to fall in that rut. So today we really want to share 4 things about why it's not too late to start.
Well, I mean, you can do it at as micro as you want. So that's the thing about starting over, because like 2024, we always say, oh, I want to start at the beginning of the week, beginning of the month, beginning of the year, whatever it is.
Yeah.
In 2024 now, the first quarter is over. So it's a fresh quarter.
She gone.
You know, you can start quarter 2.
That's it. That's not even one of our points. We just made that one up on the fly.
I did.
She ain't playing around. But we do have a Bible verse that we do want to share that I think encompasses a lot of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to put it up on the screen. Do you want to read it? It'd probably be easier for you to read.
You can read it.
Okay, so Isaiah 40:31 tells us, "But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary." Christy is showing her wings. "They shall walk and not faint." And I think that's a beautiful Bible verse. It just tells us a lot about how God feels about us, and that we can find strength in him, and that it's never too late. God is never done with us. I mean, there's so many awesome stories in the Bible that proves that. I mean, if you think about all the stories in the Bible, it's about these horrible, rotten people that God transforms their lives, right? And a lot of times these people are way older than us when they're transforming their lives. And so,
yeah, why is it called the Bible? It should be called horrible, rotten people stories.
Yeah, the horrible stories of the past, right? Or the redemption stories of the past. Yeah. So that's, we want to kick that off with that. But so we have 4 things we want to talk about today when it talks about it's never too late to start. You ready to dive right in?
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. Point number 1 is you always get a second chance.
Yeah, and like you call all the chances second chances, right? So it's like if it's your 4th chance, 5th chance, 6th chance, they're all second chances.
That's true.
And the Bible even talks about that, getting
That's
up,
true.
continuously getting up, not giving up the good fight, not growing weary, things like that. And so in our lives, I think it's important to understand we beat ourselves up a lot. I know me personally, I beat myself up a lot about eating healthy or living a healthier lifestyle. And how many times have I started a new healthy lifestyle kick and then it doesn't pan out, right? But instead of, I think that's something that Satan would want us to do, or the devil would want us to do, is like when you're trying to quit drinking and you relapse, or quitting an addiction or anything like that. He'd want to be like, you're not going to do it this time anyways. What's the point? And he gets us really beat down about it when the whole point is starting. And yes, we need to have longevity and stick through things, but not to beat ourselves up about it.
Yeah. I think this really goes well with even like second marriages, right? And I know we talk a lot about blended families, but we talk about second chances, and we tell ourselves, once we're divorced, we're always a divorced person, right? We've talked about that in the past about, that feels like within the church community, you could be an alcoholic and, you don't drink anymore. People don't know you that way, but you're always kind of like this divorced person, right? But the honest to goodness truth is that if we're willing to embrace kind of the second chance concept in our own minds, and we're willing to really absorb that into who we are, that second chance, God's constantly, just this past weekend, Easter weekend, it's all about second chances, right? Jesus decided to do the most horrible thing on the planet, and that is to sacrifice his own son, right? And knowing in doing that, he still followed through with that to be even know that we're going to continuously sin, right? But we're always getting these second chances. It's beautiful what you said. Our 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 9th chance, we still consider those second chances, but we always have a second chance. So we have to stop telling ourselves that there isn't another opportunity around the corner. I think the older that we get, you shared with me that someone told you today, it said it seems like the older you get, the dumber you get. Right? Almost like the older we get, because we get set in our old ways.
That's not quite the way he worded it.
Well, I'm just saying we kind of get pigeonholed. We pigeonhole ourselves, right? We say like, oh, I already know that. I'm famous for that. I'm like, I've already discovered it. I've already tried it. I've already experienced it. I already know it. And so there's no possible way that this could be any different. And that's a lie that we tell ourselves. We stop ourselves from taking a second chance in areas.
Yeah. So what he said was, though, the older I get, the more I realize, the less I know. So it's like we start.
That's basically the same thing.
No, it's not. It amazes me. It amazes me the way you hear the things I tell you. But It's funny because he was saying, that he was thinking, oh, I, know this and I already know this and I already know this. But then the older you get, the kind of, it's like, oh, wait, I get around somebody else. I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So then you really start to realize, I don't know as much as I thought I did. And to remain open and start and giving other people second chances. I think that's important to talk about too, because we all want to be the one that gets the second chance. But when we have people in our lives that we're supposed to forgive, or maybe like our kids, like how many chances do we give our kids over and over and over again about things, learning and
Too many.
Yeah. Too many of them dang kids.
Too many.
Dang kids.
Kids don't deserve that many chances.
But it's important to say, I tried, like the amount of times, I'm going to just pick on Josh for a second. The amount,
My son?
No, you.
Oh, okay.
The amount of great ideas that he gets, but that's a gift from God. And that's something that if he listened to the voices in his head, which some are from Satan and some are from his own mind, if he listened to those voices, he wouldn't jump on the next new idea that he got, because he's had so many awesome ideas and then they've tried and then they haven't came through. Right. So then he comes up with another one that's great. And if he was really listening to the wrong thing, he wouldn't even try it. And that's not everybody. God hasn't gifted everybody with the creative mind to be able to think of idea after idea after idea after idea. And the perception of ourselves is what sets us apart. God put something on our hearts that's a power, a superpower that is unique to us. And Satan is going to try to make us think that we don't deserve specific second chances about those types of things. And we can't listen to those voices. We need to be like, okay, I am a strong-willed person. Josh tells me all the time, I really speak to women, which I don't necessarily always see that. He sees that women I have a connection with. Well, if every time I listened to a woman maybe that didn't like me, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that, or you wouldn't continue doing what you do.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to connect with guys. So this is good, actually. That's why I encourage you that way. But it is important, though, and I think
does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes,
though? Like,
it does.
It's a superpower of, new ideas, new innovative things.
Yeah. And yes. And I could sit here and rattle off all the negatives to that for myself.
That's my point, though.
Right. And that is the point. That's the exact point.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand what you were trying to say. But I think it is important that we embrace second chances on both sides of the fence. You see me in a different light than I see myself. And I think that's what's encouraging about having the right community of people about second chances, because it's never too late. You showed me a video just before we even came on, a Gary Vee video where he was talking to a guy that's 62. And he's 62 years old, and the guy was getting really emotional. And he's like, hey, I've been following you for a while, listening to your stuff. And, I've broke through and I made some, I did something that was amazing in my life, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have done that.
And he's 62.
And we think 62 is old, right? But when you're 57, you don't think 62 is old, and that's the truth. Like, I'm 48. I don't think 52 is old now.
Right.
I think it's older, but I don't think it's old. But when I was 30, I'm like, 52, like 48, that's old people,
Your sister just turned 50, so.
Yeah, she did. And she'll always be older than me. And that's all we care about.
She turned 50.
On April Fool's Day, yes. But so second chances are available to us, but we have to be willing to take them.
Yes.
And I think that is the major point of that. So number one is second chance. Number two.
It's never too late. Second chance.
Yep. It's never too late. Second point is reinvent. What about reinventing yourself?
So to me, this reinvent one, what really speaks to seasons. So I think sometimes we can, when we're talking about it's never too late, we can really grasp onto a specific season of our life and say, like, I've always been in this specific role in my career, let's just say, and I don't want to step out of this because this is what I've always done. It's uncomfortable for me to move on to something else, but you can really feel in your heart that your heart's not in what you're doing anymore. Like, it's time to move on, maybe find a different career path altogether, maybe step out and want a promotion or go into a different division. And it's like, you have to talk about reinventing yourself, but that season that you're in, you have to say, okay, is this season or this chapter of my life, is this actually come to a close and I have to start a new chapter? And that's really what reinvent starts to me, because as we age, it's a constant evolution in our lives. We constantly have to evolve, because when we have younger kids, our lives really are all around the kids and all of that. And I got really attached to that. And now that my kids are all older, I went through a season, I would say in the last few years, I just now started to get over it, where I really was mourning the children being little and wanting to be around us and doing all this thing. And all of our kids are adults now. And now it's like, okay, I have to reinvent who I am as a mother, even to adult children. And now in I can be a different type of wife to Josh. I can reinvent myself in that way. I'm still his wife, but I was a different wife before. And now I can be a different one to him. And those are the things that we have to start constantly talking to ourselves about, because I think we have to keep reinventing ourselves.
We do. That has to be something that we have to have a desire to do. You know,
and to talk about.
And to talk about. And something that really sticks in my head, and this is kind of dark, but I think this really brings home the point. So between 15 and 20 years ago, I had an uncle that was very loyal. He was married. He only ever been married one time. He had a daughter, and she was grown at this point, and it was just him and his wife. And well, she was deciding to leave him. And my uncle worked manual labor jobs, really, really hard worker, ended up starting a small little farm, so on and so forth. And when his wife decided to divorce him, she was very evil about it. She was very mean. She's like, I'm taking you for everything. And my uncle wasn't very book smart, but he was an extremely hard worker. And he got super frustrated, and he ended up buying a gun, and he ended up killing himself. Right? He ended up ending his own life. And that's because to him, and he even told, because he called all of his siblings before he did it. And he called my mom, and he told my mom, and he's like, Sue, it's my mom's name. And he's like, Sue, I just can't start over. I can't start over. I'm old. And at the time, he was younger than me than I am right now. I'm getting goosebumps right now. He was younger than me. He was in his mid to early 40s at the time, and he was like, I can't start over. And that's a lie that the enemy wants us to believe. We can reinvent our lives at any point, and we have to be willing. It's never too late to start doing that. And Christy, you said something that's amazing to me. We have to always think about reinventing ourselves, right? God constantly wants us to die to the sin in our nature, right? He constantly is asking us to do this every day, because there's a reinvention that he's trying to do inside of us. And so I think when we look at our lives and we stop trying to eat the whole cow in one bite, and we tell ourselves like, no, I just need to work on a path of reinvention consistently. Then we think to ourselves, when something traumatic does happen, it's not like nothing can change from here on out. It's not. And I think that reinvention of a concept of our lives, of constantly doing it, is a way that we should look at our lives.
Well, and God can take anything and make it for the better. I mean, we saw that in the story of Joseph. I just read about that story today in my devotional I was doing this morning when I got up. But Joseph had to keep reinventing himself in the Bible based off his brothers sold him into slavery. And then he ended up in Potiphar's house. And then he ended up in jail. And then he ended up, being over second command over all of Egypt. So, but he reinvented himself in perception he was doing. But you hear about it all the time, even in this day and age. I started listening to a new book this morning by Lewis Howes. And, in his early 20s, he was on a fast track for football. He had an injury. He had to reinvent himself and he was young. He was like 23 when that happened. And he already had his plan laid out. I'm going to be, famous in football and all these things. Yep. And then this happens, and it's like, what am I going to do now? Even at 23, if you are like, this is my life's purpose, and that gets taken away from you,
what's left?
What is left? And you have to reinvent yourself. So no matter what age you are, it's tragedy happens, life happens, and you have to take a step back and say, that wasn't everything. God can take it and replant me somewhere else. And what can I do? And a lot of times it's the service. Like, you just start putting yourself out there, networking and helping others in some form or fashion, and doors will get opened for you. And that's what happened with him. He was looking for a job, and LinkedIn was a new platform at that time. He started really learning LinkedIn. and then started helping other people figure out how to use LinkedIn because he wanted to help other people too. And then he started making money off of it. And it's like, those are the types of things. It's just, you go into it wanting to help people. And that's the doors that are being opened for people.
Yeah. And Lewis Howes now has one of the largest podcasts on the planet. Like, huge.
The School of Greatness.
Huge. Yeah. School of Greatness. Yeah. Huge podcast. So yeah. All right. Number 3, moving on. Number 3.
And it can be exciting. Reinventing yourself can be exciting.
It can be if you go into it thinking.
Perception.
Yeah. If you're thinking this is something that's good for me. Number 3 is wisdom. What about wisdom? I think we all need to have some form of wisdom. And usually when you're in midlife, you do carry a bunch of wisdom.
You get wiser as you get older. But what it makes me think of is there's a quote out there, and I'm not going to quote it correctly, but that says, I don't fail. I either win or I learn, something like that. And that's not exactly how it goes, but that's the
idea,
gist.
though. Yeah, that's the idea.
And it's like every time you don't quote unquote succeed to the world's level of success, or even your level of success being whatever it is, you actually gained wisdom or experience from that failure. And so the next time that you're moving into it, you are wiser each time. So you can take it from an infant stage. A baby starts trying to walk. They get up, they fall, they learn, okay, I'm going to shift my body weight this type of way. And so we start from a very young age learning how to become wiser and better at the things that we're doing. And then the world kind of beats it out of us. And you start getting into school and you start getting made fun of, or teachers make you feel stupid, or whatever it is. The world beats out of that creativity. And the people that bubble up to the top are the ones that have a good perception and look at it as exciting, or surround themselves with a community of people that when they are down, those people are like, no, you got this. Like, this is going to be great. And it's making sure you stay positive, you have a positive mindset, an encourager, and the people that you surround yourself with, because you're not always going to be able to do it yourself, have that as well. And that's wisdom. So you learn as you grow too, like, these are the people I want to spend my time with. You have to be intentional with your time. Time is an unrenewable resource. It's the only thing that's, is that right? Unrenewable.
Not renewable. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like your time is very, very precious. We don't ever get that back. So your time on earth is who are you devoting your time to, and who is pouring into you, and who are you pouring into? Mm-hmm. It's definitely makes a difference as far as how wise you're going to get, how far you're going to go, is who is your wise counsel. A lot of time your wise counsel is people that are leading you down the wrong path.
I always think of like ignorance as bliss. You know, it reminds me of how ignorant I was when I was young, but how much I just would take another chance, or I would have no fear of going and doing something new.
Like, I don't care.
I don't care. And I think wisdom, though, can be a double-edged sword on that, right?
Yeah.
So most people, when we're thinking it's too late to start again, or to do something again, we think to ourselves, I'm too wise. I have too much information along the years that I've accompanied with all this data now that says that this is not worth the risk. And so our wisdom can be a really good, buddy or friend, but also could be a really good foe, right? So it could be good or bad. It's and we have to be very careful in the way that we use our wisdom, right? And we have to tell ourselves, like, okay, wait a minute. Sometimes life is about taking chances, and sometimes those chances are big. And I think careers, a lot of times people get stuck in. I can't tell you how many guys that I've had that came to me over the years of being at the church and said, I'm miserable in my job, and I really feel like God is calling me into ministry. And I'm like, okay, so then do it. Well, I can't do that. Why can't you do it? Well, I have a family to take care of. Okay, well, doesn't mean that you can't figure out a way, right? Cut back on things that you spend money on, do these things, rework these things, you know? There's other ways that you can make it happen. You can do these things, but they stay and they still saying these same things over and over, year after year after year. And it's like we tell ourselves that we can't because of specific situations. All I know is that when I was 33 years old, I decided that I was going to commit to stop drinking. Okay, drinking alcohol. I was single at the time, single father. My kids were with me most of the time. I had bills to pay, and I knew that I was not going to be able to quit drinking alcohol if I kept the job that I had. I did not have another job lined up, and I still quit. Now, and all wisdom tells me that's the dumbest thing I could do. But I decided to take a leap and do the thing that I thought was necessary, and that I would have to deal with that consequence. and I'm living today. I didn't die, right? I didn't end up homeless, right? God worked it out. And so I think a lot of times what we do is we let this wisdom sometimes get in our way and tell us the things that the chance to start something new isn't possible.
Yes, I do agree with that. I do think that God would want us to be responsible first.
I think so.
And even if we make a bad decision, God can work it out. But I like the story in the Bible of David, that he was anointed to be king years before he was actually going to be king. And he went back to tending sheep, right? And he didn't leave that. He finished doing what he was doing first. It grew, became more wise, fought a bear, fought a lion, ended up fighting Goliath, all of these things in order to prepare and go for that. I do feel like we beat ourselves up too much when we do make an irresponsible decision and not believe that God can work it out for us. We like to punish ourselves a lot because of that. So I think some of the wisdom in this is trusting in God. Like, you make the best decision that you can with what you know at the time. With looking back, when we're 20 or 22, 23, 24, we don't say, oh, I'm just going to try something else because I'm young. We don't think that. We just think, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try something else. And there's nothing to stop us from having that mindset now. It's the pressures of the responsibilities, I think, that we acquire as we get older that sets us back a little bit. Instead of saying, family, let's sit down, I feel like God is calling me personally into ministry, especially if it's a man, right? Let's sit down. If your kids are older, even, you could bring your kids into it and say, what can we do to make this happen? What is everyone willing to sacrifice so that we can have God's blessing on our lives, type of thing. I just think that's...
Yeah, the point isn't to be irresponsible. The point is to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important thing. Of course, be responsible, do these things. I didn't have anybody to answer to at the time. And I knew that if I didn't stop drinking, I was going to die. Okay, so I mean, and I think everybody has like these specific things in there. But
right.
I think
there's no rules.
There is no rules. And I think we get in our own way. We're like, oh, I will die if I quit my job. Okay, let's relax a little bit first off, right? And let's sit down with the family. Let's talk it out. Let's create a plan then. Maybe there's a 2-year plan with this. But I think the wisdom portion of us sometimes gets in the way.
Yeah.
And we sell ourselves on the reasons why we can't start something new.
Yeah.
And I really do. You want to go live on an island? Everybody probably can make that happen to some degree. And we tell ourselves, I can't do that. And I just think it's untrue. We have to be responsible. We have to trust in God. But at the same time, we also have to get out of our own way and put things into action to start new.
Yeah.
I believe that. All right, number 4. What about legacy?
So I think it's important to understand that this is a biblical thing too, is that you can change the trajectory of your family. You can break family bondages and stuff that you've had, but to remember the things that you're doing in your life. If you have kids, you could leave a legacy for your kids to pick up and carry on your memory or the good works that you start, charities that you start, things like that, direction to follow God, but also your friends and your family. It doesn't have to be your direct, lineage of children to leave it. You make a lasting impact. All of us have a circle of influence around us. Some circles are larger than others, but we all have a circle. We all have humans that we interact with to some capacity, and we're leaving a legacy whether we like it or not. So we have to think, like people like to talk about, I want to leave a legacy. Everyone is. So is your legacy that people are going to remember you and talk about you and everything going to be in I can take it or leave it, a negative one, or is it going to be a positive impact that you're leaving on people?
Yeah, and I love how you said that. We all leave some type of legacy. And this is exactly what I think of when I think legacy. I think most people think legacy is like this about me. And I think legacy is about the impact, like you said, the impact that we make on this planet. What are we willing to put ourselves out there to make some type of ripple effect for Jesus Christ in our lives?
Yeah.
Maybe if I decided to make a huge change in my life, something so grand and so shocking that it caused a ripple effect, and maybe nobody ever remembers me from it, but the legacy of what happened is what stays. And I think that is what we should all be trying to do, right? I think a lot of times we do get caught up in legacy, like, okay, my legacy is my brand. It's like, it's my business. It's, it's my name. That's not, to me, that has nothing to do with anything. It doesn't matter, right? I saw a TikTok, I don't know, recently, and it said, you could work at a place for 25 years. and then die. And then they're going to replace you by Monday. Like they just are. Like life goes on. Like it goes on whether we like it or not. It's going to go on without us. There's ministries that Chris and I have been involved in the past. God doesn't need us specifically for that ministry. God can put anybody in that ministry to make it work. He doesn't need us specifically, but he does need our obedience to cause some form of a legacy. And we have to be willing in that to say, you know what, I can be used, and I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to start something new, and I'm going to just know that it's not too late to do this. And that motion could cause a legacy. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like so many ways, because our flesh really starts to become prideful, and you have to constantly be putting yourself in check. Like I think this would be especially hard for pastors too. Like a lot of pastors, I've been to a lot of churches in my life, and a lot of pastors feel like the church lives and dies on them. And it's like, no, you can have you can go on vacation. It's going to be okay. You can have other people speak. It's going to be okay, because it's not about, our pastor talks about all the time. It's about the word of God. So as anybody could stand up there and read the word of God, and God would make it work for him. It's in your business. Like Josh said, I see many, many leaders in the corporate world like, oh, this company is better because of me, or this company is like this because of me. No, it's like if anybody was doing what they're supposed to be doing in that job, and they're a person of good character, integrity, that's what everyone's going to be doing, the same thing in that way. And that when you leave, you shouldn't want it. You should be setting it up for the people that are under you. The foundation can withstand you leaving to be there. So it's not about a personal legacy. It's about what's the impact that you can make on other people to encourage them also, like ripple effect, the wave. Like let's think about the wave in an arena. Like we start it and everybody goes around, and it's like a ripple effect that keeps going.
Yeah, legacy is a tough thing, but it's important. And I think that if we can reframe the way that we believe it, our pastor does talk about not making it about us, because it's really important that we don't. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have special attributes that
God gave you,
that doesn't shine.
Christy
is very, very good at leading people, but at the same time, she also is very good in sales. So she also understands how to have healthy communication and leading communication and effective communication. And so, God has really given her an ability to use both of those things together, and it's really helped her in her corporate career. Now, can he find somebody else to do that? Of course, right? And that's exactly what she's saying. He can find somebody else to do that. But she's fitted in that, and she now decided to start up a leadership book club at her work recently. I think the first meeting was today, she said. Nice. And she's choosing to do that, not to make it about her, but to say, hey, these are things that's worked for me. Let's push this along and have other people get encouraged by it too. That is a legacy push, is what that is. Doesn't have anything to do with her. Just says, God, you know what? You did this in me. I want it to shine through me, and let's make this happen. It's not too late. And you had people that came to your group today that, were very vulnerable and open and honest and said, hey, I've been needing this for a long time. And if it wasn't for somebody like her or somebody else like you that decided to step out and say, it's just never too late. Let's just do it now then. That's what matters. That leaves a legacy. That's a ripple effect of legacy.
Pushing people to invest in themselves. That's the important thing. So you want to invest in yourself. But I like to use the analogy, don't get rid of this yet, because I'm going to do something. Okay. I like the analogy, though. I use this with my team all the time, and people are probably sick of hearing it, is I like to use the analogy of superheroes. Okay, especially if you do like DC or Marvel things, there's movie after movie after movie after movie. I mean, there's so many superheroes. To this point, this day, I didn't even know this many existed. Okay, I never knew about the Black Panther or who he was. I guess you really had to be a super Marvel or DC. I don't know. Comic to see it, but every superhero is a superhero. So I'm like, it's like managers. Every leader is like a superhero, and I always use Batman and Superman because they're the most famous ones to me. So Batman and Superman are both superheroes, correct? We can both agree, but they both would manage people differently, right? Like Batman is more of dark, like People want to be him to save them and all this stuff, but
mysterious.
yes. And Superman is more of the strong, he can fly, he can do, but they both have special gifts in and of themselves. And that's how leaders are. Like, we all have superpowers, we're all superheroes in our own right. And if we come together, that's what makes the Avengers, right? So, that's the things that I like to say is, it's not about one specific person, because not everybody holds all of the keys to success themselves. We need one another. And the more that we realize that, the stronger that will be. But
real quick before you move on, because I want to make a point to that. I think that she didn't even realize this, but using Superman and Batman is so good because Batman has no superpowers.
No, he's
Batman is a normal human that just had a lot of money and decided to use all of these tools and stuff. So I think it's really cool because they're very, very different,
but they're both considered superheroes.
They're still considered superheroes, which is really cool. So
I know, it's awesome. So this whole thing, though, what this reminds me of, it just happened to work out, is in Bible study at church, we just ended Judges, and Judges speaks to all of this stuff, that the Israelites are idiots and they keep getting second chances. They keep having to reinvent themselves. They get wise for a little bit, right? But then they end up leaving a legacy ultimately in the end. And if you read the story of Judges, it's just a constant circle of they screw up, they cry out to God, God forgives them, and then they renew themselves, and then it just keeps going around and around and around. And the moral of that story is they never stop screwing up, but they never stopped calling out to God. And these are the things that we have to remember. Like, we have to embrace, we're constantly going to be evolving. We're constantly going to be having different things happen in our lives. Call out to God, embrace second chances, be willing to reinvent yourself, learn from your mistakes, and know that the impact that you're making around others makes a difference. And it can be negative or positive.
I agree. Nothing else to say. That's it. It's never too late to start, and you need to know that deep in your heart. That rhymed.
It's never too late to start again.
Start again. Yeah, I love it. All right, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Hey, listen, if you have anything to add to this episode, please leave it in the comments below. People do go through the comments, right? We are very inquisitive when it comes to these things. We want to know more, right? We always want to hear more. Let us know. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts? What have you done in your life to restart? What is it that's the big thing that's changed your life dramatically? My sister just got baptized on this last Sunday, on Easter Sunday. She's 36 years old, and it's never too late. It's just never too late. And she could tell you.
13 years younger than you.
She's 12 years younger than me.
Oh.
She's 12 years younger.
I thought she was 13.
Christina is 6 years and she's another 6. So she's 12 years younger. Yeah. So, but it's just never too late, right? And she'll tell you right now, she's on fire. She can't believe the changes that are happening in this short period of time. We just don't know. It's never too late to start or start again.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, same place.
Bye.